Look.
Yeah.
Yeah, wind machine so awesome.
You heard it from my oldest son, who even knows what a hard drive is. You know what this is, Atticus?
Hard drive.
Good job. Excellent. And where does the hard drive go?
Right there.
And where it goes, which is what we're going to be doing in this episode. In the last one, I mentioned the thought of installing a second SSD in that machine and installing Red Hat Enterprise Linux. I never thought I could install such a thing until I watched a video from YouTuber and network guru, Network Chuck, who was a good follow, by the way. He mentioned in a recent episode that you can get Red Hat for free as a developer. I'll link that below, by the way. So I decided to take advantage of that. First, I need to install the hard drive. I realized another thing though. I had a port for powering the SSD, but not the data. I was missing a SATA cable. Since I live in a town where you can't buy much things at the store, online shopping had to save the day.
1 week later.
So I finally got the SATA cable, but I ran into a similar issue that I had last time. No place to securely mount it. Again, likely not the best practice, but I placed it in one of the drive slots in the desktop. It's like the desktop won't really get it moved around anyway. I did see a comment from a good friend of mine that mentioned brackets or spacers for the smaller sized SSDs. I wondered if those existed, but I just never had a chance to explore it. By the way, if you're into all things gaming, Steve is another one to follow. I did find at least one online, something I'll have to purchase and install another time, but the current setup will have to do. The power and data cables were connected, and it was time to get it all hooked up. But afterward, we ran into a lot of problems. The installer USB drive I made with the ISO file was not functional. No matter what I did, it would not boot from the drive and instead boot from the already installed Ubuntu OS. I'm not going to make this video any longer than it has to be, but I will say a few things that I learned from all this. Number 1, the drive should be formatted to FAT32. Especially if you're trying to prepare the installer from another OS. Even though I formatted it at one point to a Linux format, it still gave me problems. Number 2, what worked the best for me for preparing the thumb drive was an app called Balena Etcher. It allows you to create an installer from an ISO file. Select which file to flash, then the target drive, and click a button to run it. And finally, use the boot ISO file, not the DVD. The boot has the essential files to install Red Hat and pulls the rest from the internet during installation. So be sure you have your network connection already set up. I kept getting errors once the Balena Etcher completed the conversion using the DVD ISO, likely because it was a 9 GB file and using FAT32 format, there are limits to the file sizes. The boot ISO file is around 845 megabytes. As you see, it worked. The setup was pretty easy overall. I needed to log in with my Red Hat credentials though. I'll leave the links below on how to set all of that up. It took a good bit to install, probably because I had to install those extra items and pull them from the internet. Once it finally finished installing, I noticed something interesting. The UI seemed a bit similar to Ubuntu. Oh, and since Ubuntu and other Linux distros I have are Debian based, calling for updates is a little different in the command line. Using the apt command to get updates didn't work in Red Hat. So instead, it's actually yum. So there you have it. Now, there's a lot left for me to figure out what to do with this thing for next time, but once I figured all that out, I will be sure to let you all know. By the way, if you really like what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button on the bottom there, and also subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.